Think about the last time you decided to save more money. You probably made a mental pact on a Sunday night, promised yourself you wouldn't eat out for a month, and tried to white knuckle your way through your impulses. By Thursday, you were tired, stressed from work, and that order now button on your phone won the battle. Most people approach personal finance as a test of character, a grueling marathon of self-denial. But I am here to tell you that willpower is a defective resource. It is a biological battery that drains every time you make a decision, from what to wear to how to respond to an aggressive email. If your strategy for building wealth relies on you making the right choice every day, you have already lost. The wealthy do not have more discipline than you. They simply have better plumbing. They have built a financial architecture that treats money like water, directing it through preset pipes so that it reaches its destination before they even have a chance to touch it. Today, we are going to stop being receivers and start being architects. We are going to design your automated wealth engine, a system that works while you sleep, while you stress, and even while you fail. The tragedy of the modern middle class in the US and Europe is the single bucket trap. Most people have one main checking account where their salary lands, their bills are paid, and their fun money sits in a chaotic, undistinguished pile. This is a psychological disaster. When you look at that one big number, your brain enters a state of availability bias. It sees a balance of $4,000 and thinks you are rich, completely ignoring the fact that $3,000 of that is already spoken for by rent, insurance, and the debt we discussed in the last video. You are forcing your brain to perform complex mental arithmetic every time you buy a coffee or a pair of shoes. This leads to decision fatigue, and eventually you just stop calculating. You spend until the app warns you, or worse, until the card declines. To break this cycle, we have to move from a bucket mindset to a vault mindset. We need to physically and digitally separate your money based on its mission. In the world of financial architecture, we call this the 3-account protocol. The first account is your operating account. This is the only account connected to your primary debit card. Its mission is simple: survival. This is where your fixed costs live: rent, mortgage, utilities, basic groceries, and insurance. The key to the operating account is that it should be a zero-sum environment. You calculate exactly what your life costs to run at a baseline level, and that is the only amount that stays here. Any excess is a leak that will inevitably be spent on things you don't need. Most people treat their main account like a living room where everyone is invited. The architect treats it like a high-security transit hub. Money enters, it is immediately tagged for a bill, and it leaves. There is no idle money in the operating account. By isolating your fixed costs, you remove the anxiety of, will I have enough for rent? Because that money was never part of your spendable balance to begin with. The second account is your freedom fund. This is the most important piece of plumbing in your entire life. This is not a savings account in the traditional sense. A savings account is a passive place where money goes to die of inflation. A freedom fund is an active capital reserve designed for one purpose: to buy your future time. This account should be held at a completely different bank than your operating account. Ideally, an online-only bank with a high-yield interest rate. Why a different bank? Because of the out-of-sight, out-of-mind principle. If you can see your savings every time you check your checking balance, you will subconsciously factor that money into your spending power. You will tell yourself, it's okay if I go $500 over budget this month. I have it in savings. By moving the Freedom Fund to a different institution, you introduce strategic friction. You make it take 2 to 3 business days to move that money back. That delay is the guardian of your future. It forces your impulsive brain to wait for your logical brain to catch up. The third account is your guilt-free spend account. This is where the magic of the system happens. Most financial advice tells you to cut out everything you love. The lattes, the dinners, the travel. That is unsustainable. Financial dieting, and like all diets, it leads to a binge. The architect knows that the human spirit needs play. Your spend account is a dedicated bucket for everything that isn't a necessity. Once your operating account is funded and your freedom fund is fed, whatever is left goes here. And here's the rule. You must spend this money. This is your play protocol. When you use this card, there is zero guilt because you know with mathematical certainty that your bills are paid and your future is secure. You have turned spending from a source of anxiety into a reward for a well-functioning system. This structure doesn't just manage your money, it manages your dopamine. Now, let's talk about the plumbing itself, the automation. In the US, most employers allow you to split your direct deposit. This is the most powerful wealth-building tool in existence, yet 80% of people don't use it. They have their entire check sent to one account and promise they will transfer the rest later. But later never comes. The system extracts the money before you can. To be an architect, you must set up a splitting logic. You instruct your payroll department to send X amount to your operating account, Y amount to your freedom fund, and Z amount to your spend account. This is paying yourself first in its literal automated form. You never see the money, so you never feel the loss of it. It becomes an invisible tax that makes you wealthy. If you are a freelancer or self-employed in Europe or the US, you can replicate this using scheduled transfers or money rules in apps like Revolut, Monzo, or Ally. The goal is to remove the human element. If you have to log in to move money, you have introduced a point of failure. But even with the pipes in place, we have to address the anxiety of devaluation. Many of my viewers in the UK and the US are terrified of cash rot. The idea that keeping money in a savings account is a losing game because inflation is running higher than the interest rate. This is a valid fear, and it's why your financial plumbing must eventually lead to an investment sump. Once your freedom fund reaches its safety level, which we will define in a moment, the pipes must automatically divert the overflow into tax-advantaged investment vehicles. In the US, this means your 401k or IRA. In the UK, your ISA. You are moving money from a depreciating asset cash to an appreciating asset, the global economy. The beauty of this is that the same direct deposit logic applies. You don't decide to invest this month. The system invests for you. You are buying the dip, buying the peak, and buying the sideways market without ever having to look at a chart. You are leveraging time in the market over timing the market. To make this architecture robust, we need a baseline protocol, specifically the 50-30-20 rule, but adapted for the architect mindset. The standard 50-30-20 rule says 50% of your income goes to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings. This is a great starter blueprint, but if you are in your 40s or if you are trying to break the matrix, these numbers are too soft. An architect looks at a sovereignty ratio. If you can push your savings and debt pay down to 30 or 40%, you aren't just saving money, you are accelerating your exit velocity from the workforce. Every 1% you increase your savings rate is approximately 3 months of your life you've bought back. Think about that the next time you consider upgrading your car lease. Is that new car smell worth 2 years of your freedom? When you view every dollar as a worker that can earn more dollars, your relationship with wants changes from emotional to tactical. One of the most effective ways to protect your wealth engine is to introduce digital Fort Knox barriers. This is a concept often ignored because it feels inconvenient, but in financial architecture, inconvenience is a security feature. If you have a problem with impulsive late-night shopping, you need to de-friction your savings and re-friction your spending. This means removing your credit card details from Amazon, Apple Pay, and Google Chrome. It means using a complex password for your bank that you haven't memorized, forcing you to go find a physical notebook every time you want to make a transfer. This creates a cooling off period. Most impulsive purchases are decided in under 90 seconds. If it takes you 3 minutes to find your password and log in, the dopamine spike has already begun to fade, and your rational brain, the architect, can step in and ask, does this fit the blueprint? Now, let's address a common objection. I don't earn enough to have a spend account or an investment sump. This is the scarcity trap. The system wants you to believe that you need a high income before you can have a system. The reality is the opposite. You need a system so that you can handle a high income. Even if you are only working with $50 of excess money a month, the structure is what matters. If you can manage $50 with the precision of an architect, you will be prepared when that number becomes 5,000. Automation is a force multiplier. It takes whatever effort you have and scales it. If your effort is 0, the result is 0. But if you have the pipes in place, even a small trickle of income will eventually fill the reservoir. This brings us to the emergency buffer, the ultimate structural support. In the previous video, we talked about the starter emergency fund of 1 month. In this architectural phase, we need to automate the transition to a full buffer. This is where you set your Freedom Fund pipe to auto shutoff. Once that account hits a specific number, let's say 6 months of your operating account expenses, the plumbing needs to change. You don't just keep piling cash in a bank account where it loses value to inflation. Instead, you trigger a level 2 protocol. The money that was going into the Freedom Fund is now automatically rerouted into a brokerage pipe. This is how you move from saving for a rainy day to investing for a sunny lifetime. You have built a self-regulating machine. When the buffer is full, it feeds the investments. If you have to dip into the buffer for an emergency, the investment pipe automatically closes until the buffer is refilled. No willpower required, no emotional stress, just logic and code. We also need to talk about the shadow leaks that can ruin even the best plumbing. These are the ghost subscriptions and service creep we touched on in part 1, but from a systemic perspective, an architect performs a quarterly system audit. Every 3 months, you should look at your operating account and ask, is the water still flowing where it should? We often sign up for things, gyms, streaming services, premium software that we intend to use, but they become barnacles on our financial hull. In the US, the average person is losing over $200 a month to subscriptions they don't even remember they have. That is $2,400 a year over 10 years, invested at 8%. That is nearly $40,000. You are literally paying the price of a mid-sized SUV for access to things you don't use. Your wealth engine needs to be lean. Every dollar that isn't serving a mission is a dollar that is being extracted by someone else's engine. Let's look at the psychology of the windfall. In our Western consumer culture, when we get a tax refund, a bonus, or a gift, we are conditioned to think, what can I treat myself to? This is the receiver mindset. The architect sees a windfall as high-pressure input. When a large amount of money enters the system at once, you don't just let it splash around. You follow a windfall priority checklist. Step 1. Does the operating account have any short-term leaks, unpaid bills, or high-interest debt? Step 2. Is the Freedom Fund buffer at its target level? Step 3. If both are secure, the entire windfall goes directly into the investment sump. By having this checklist pre-written, you eliminate the emotional negotiation that happens when you have a lump sum of cash. You have already made the decision months ago. You are just executing the code. Finally, we must address the couples architecture. One of the biggest points of friction in US and European households is how to manage money with a partner. The old models of everything together or everything separate often lead to resentment or financial infidelity where one partner hides spending from the other. The architect solution is the hybrid protocol, yours, mine, and ours. You have a joint ours operating account for the mortgage, the kids, and the shared bills. You both contribute to this based on a percentage of your income. But, and this is crucial, you both maintain your own separate spend accounts. This creates autonomous joy. If your partner wants to buy a $1,000 Lego set or a designer bag with their spend money, it is none of your business. It doesn't threaten the household's hours goals because the plumbing ensures that the bills and savings are handled first. This structure saves more than just money. It saves marriages. It replaces permission with protocol. As we conclude this deep dive into your financial infrastructure, I want you to realize something profound. The reason you have felt stressed about money isn't because you aren't good with it. It's because you were fighting a war against a multi-billion-dollar industry using nothing but your own tired willpower. You were bringing a knife to a drone fight by building this architecture, the separate accounts, the automated direct deposits, the friction-based security. You are leveling the playing field. You are taking the human factor out of the equation. You are creating a system where your wealth is the default outcome, not a lucky accident. I want to see your blueprint in the comments today. Don't just say, I'll try this. I want you to commit to one specific architectural change. Are you going to open that high yield savings account at a different bank today? Are you going to log into your payroll portal and split your direct deposit for the first time? Write it down. When you announce your intent to the lab, you move from thinking to building. In our next video, we are going to move from the engine to the control room. We are going to talk about offensive wealth building, how to negotiate your bills, how to stack rewards like a pro, and why the 1% are obsessed with asymmetric upside. You've built the engine. Now it's time to learn how to drive it at 200 miles per hour. If you haven't yet, subscribe and hit the bell icon. You are no longer a passive receiver in this economy. You are the architect of your own sovereignty. Let's get to work. Remember, your income is a choice. My name is Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.